Hey gang, thanks everyone for joining us today. Appreciate you guys finding time to come to the creativity stage. My name's Tom Ajello. I'm a senior partner at a brand marketing consulting experience design firm by the name of Lippincott. You probably know Lippincott from things like the Coca-Cola swoosh. Somebody told me recently that we helped design the Tucker car for any auto buffs in the room. All kinds of really interesting things. You've probably had a Campbell soup can somewhere in your kitchen, or you've been part of, or Betty Crocker's been part of your family. You've somehow been part of the Lippincott family. So I'm excited to be here with you and talk to you a little bit about not just what we've been doing since 1943, but what happens in the new age of creating customer experiences and brand experiences. I'm going to scream through a few slides just to set some context for what we're going to talk about with our guests today. And you know, one of the things I like to do in just sort of setting a foundation is really just talk about the myths and truths of branding, brand design, and customer experience. You know, the broad-based myth in CX is that it's about efficiency, it's about frictionlessness, it's about solving problems, and of course, it is. But in truth, the CX, when it's combined with your brand strategy, actually can become a game changer. And today, because of the AI world that we live in, it's a game changer that really can drive exponential value. And when we look across some of the more interesting companies that are out there, as we think a lot about the role of design, the role of your brand strategy, and how to achieve success, it's interesting to think about looking at examples of where frictionlessness or an adequate experience does quite well, but there's a disruptor in the marketplace that's punching above its own weight, that's somehow achieving more. So I like to think about a simple example we have here is your healthcare apps. We all have them. We all manage our data with them. They get the job done. But then there's a One Medical out there, or a product or an experience that punches above its own weight. And you have to sort of ask yourself, why? Well, one of the things we think is a differentiator between what you see on the left and what you see on the right is their brand commitments or their brand promises. So when you look at One Medical, a better model of care, always being patient-centric, and care at your fingertips, these are truisms. These are words to live by that One Medical has built from a strategy perspective and has imbued the entire experience with it. And in doing so, ensures that it shows up across the entire ecosystem that One Medical affects, your digital ecosystem, in-person, media, et cetera. And this is the ultimate alignment of what you say and what you do. And this is what customers want more than anything from our brands, from the companies that we get to do incredible marketing and experience work for. And it's not just a fluffy thing. It actually drives tremendous business value. Improving CX can lead to a 1.5x revenue lift. Improving BX can add incremental success to that. And when the brand and the customer experience are improved together, we're looking at multiples of not just growth, but growth at speed. And that's a big deal, because at the end of the day, what we look to do when we're making experiences is create trust. And the combination of brand and experience is really how trust is created. So I thought I'd take, before we bring our guests out, the world's fastest lesson on building trust. Does anybody know who this brand is? Any guesses? You can shout it. How about now? Now? Name on a Starbucks cup, Starbucks calling your name out in Starbucks, is one interaction. Starbucks wants to create a community feel. They want to be the third place. How does that make you feel? Welcomed, seen, open, curious, maybe all of the above. BX is a vessel for trust building, and a name on a Starbucks cup is a signature interaction, a very simple micro interaction at scale that gets you to feel the brand, embody the brand, understand it, and take it with you. And every brand can punch above its own weight in engagement. I'm just going to build this around the wheel here, can punch above its own weight in engagement and connection and growth by creating your own signature experiences, maximizing your micro moments and doing something unique, meaningful, and differentiating with the interaction, the signature interaction, the brand building interactions with your customers. And because of that, and because of that ecosystem effect, trust has never really been a message. It's always been a system, but you've been able to hide from it and you've been able to ignore it. But today, it's being audited. It's being audited by AI, it's being audited by the LLMs that we use, and those LLMs that we use are becoming what we like to think of as the fourth persona. Our little friend in our pocket that is the ultimate referrer, or in a lot of ways, the most impartial and most influential customer you've ever targeted. And so with that, I'd like to invite a couple guests over to the stage. We're going to invite Bethany Eppner and Jill Cress. Jill is the Chief Experience and Marketing Officer for H&R Block, and Bethany is the Head of Global Business Marketing for Fandom. And we're going to jump into a conversation with them about how branded experience is alive and well at their company, what they're doing to weather the AI storm, and how they're leveraging their brand strategy in order to punch above, to make their experiences punch above its own weight and create that engagement that we're talking about. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks
for having us.
So, thanks for joining. It's toasty up here. So to kick things off, and I thought we'd keep things simple at first, and Jill, we'll start with you, and then Bethany, you next. I thought maybe you could just start by saying, what does branded experience mean at your organization, especially in a role where you oversee both? We'll talk about that a little bit this afternoon. What does brand stand for in your organization when you think about the role between brand and experience?
So, as exciting as you probably all think taxes are, right? Working in taxes, it is actually quite an exciting category. It's one that is really filled with a lot of dread by most people. And yet for most Americans, 150 million Americans must do their taxes every year. So it's a fascinating category. Like, someone's got to capture all of that demand. That's a whole nother story. H&R Block has been at this for 70 years. And the role of the brand is really important. And when I got to H&R Block, the question that I asked was, like, we are doing taxes, but what is the customer really buying from us? And we've distilled that down to some brand truths that play out in our experience, and we really let those guide us. And so the most important thing that they're buying is expertise. It's a high-stakes situation. You want to get the maximum outcome from your taxes. 75% of Americans get a refund, and for most, it's like the most significant financial moment of the year. So they're buying expertise. That's in either the human or the digital interaction that they have with us. They want it to be easy. That's our second E. They need to know what they're going to pay for it. So that's all about expectations. And the fourth E is empathy. A relationship that you have with your human tax consultant, tax pro, is almost like one that you have with your physician, because you really have to share very intimate financial details. And we hear these stories of a tax pro who's been working with, let's say, a couple, bless you, for a long time. And they will sometimes know that one person in the couple might be terminally ill just by the way they start interacting that year versus how they interacted the prior year, saying, like, you need to pay attention. Are you aware of this? So empathy is really important. So what we now do is think about how we build experiences through those four lenses, and at what point in the end-to-end journey, like in the micro, we talk about like the micro experiences as well, which of those experiences matter most? What is the customer buying at what point in the journey? So is it the expertise, the ease, the empathy, and are we setting their expectations?
Yeah, micro experiences, signature interactions, all of those things that add up to something bigger.
Yeah.
Bethany, how are, obviously Fandom, very different business.
Did everyone know, can I just do a quick, I feel like Fandom's the biggest brand that no one's ever heard of. So just so you all know, you probably all have been on Fandom. It is the #1 fan platform for entertainment and gaming. What does that mean? So it means that we are basically a collection of 250,000 wikis, deep dives on every kind of fictional world out there. So think about fan utility, second screen. You're playing a game, you're watching a movie, you're watching a TV show, you're searching, you want to know more about that. More times than not, you end up on Fandom. You just don't realize it. So just very different, but just to kind of give everyone level set what Fandom is, because it's not really a well-known consumer brand.
Yeah, so quite an ecosystem, because you have the Fandom brand, and then you've got every brand of every property that you engage with on the ecosystem. So tell us how you manage that from a brand perspective in terms of what Fandom stands for and how you connect brand to experience.
Yeah, I mean, if you think of Fandom, it's about passion. Anyone who's come onto the kind of Fandom world, you have taken an action to get onto that world. You have searched, you were interested, you're looking for more, and so you're there willingly. And so what I think is so interesting about people who are engaging in Fandom is that they are looking to fulfill their passion. This is what they are most passionate about. It's entertainment and gaming, the two biggest passions in the world. So when we think about working with brands and how to kind of be authentic to the brand and the experience of the consumer, it has to have fans at the center. It has to be what fans want. It has to be additive to the experience. It can't just interrupt the experience. We know that fans do not like advertising. They, tend to rebel against it. But if the experience is additive and helps kind of feed into their passion, then it's going to resonate and you're going to have much better ROI. So with experiences especially, we come at it from a fan point of view and make sure that we work with brands, but also make sure that we take into account, is this something a fan will want to experience? Because if not, it's not going to be successful for us.
I guess that's interesting, because in that way, Fandom needs to be visible in terms of bringing the community together, but also kind of invisible in order to allow the property to shine and the community to get what they want out of the property they're looking for.
Absolutely. I mean, Fandom is secondary, which is why it's not necessarily a consumer-facing brand.
Yep.
I consider Fandom a bridge. It's a bridge for brands like H&R Block to connect with people who are leaned in. These are people who are passionate and are there to kind of dive into their passions, but that means they're also open. They're open to messaging. So we are just the bridge for that, and we, supply the insights and the data so that brands can do so in an authentic way. So I can tell you what's driving this fan, what's their passion, what other kind of thematics are they interested in, and you as a brand can take that under consideration and tailor your message accordingly.
I think brand visibility and invisibility is an interesting topic in this sort of ephemeral world we all live in now, where AI kind of wants your brand to only be there when it's needed and not when it's not. Jill, to you, how do you balance what the brand wants to say and how you want to get the sort of H&R Block brand out there with what customers need to feel, particularly in a AI world?
Yeah, I think, we start with the customer. And I think, our messaging, we serve small businesses, we serve consumers of all ages and of all life stages. And so what we want them to feel really is organized around the things I mentioned earlier, but those can have different weights at different points in the customer life cycle with a brand like H&R Block. So an example is that there's one big new entrant to the category every year, and that's Gen Z. Other than that, most people choose a tax partner and they tend to stick with them. It's even if you're very unhappy, you tend to just say, oh, it's too hard to switch. So we either have to get people to switch or we have to get new entrants in the category to drive growth. And so Gen Z is really important to us. And we have to think about the lifetime value of that customer when they come in. They might enter a relationship with us because we have a free solution. But over time, as their taxes get more complex, we'll have better solutions for them, and we can make them a customer for life. Life moments are, in fact, tax moments. People tend to explore changing who they partner with on taxes when they graduate from college, when they get married, when they have a baby, when they buy a house, when they retire. And so on average, someone will switch how they think about their taxes 5 times in their life. And so those are really important moments. And speaking to someone who's a Gen Z about the value and the freeness of what we offer is something that we start with versus someone who's in a nesting phase and having kids and buying a home. It really gets down to the importance of the expertise and the 70 years of experience we have. And so it really, all of that to say, it starts with the customer and it's fairly bespoke. And I think what's great about AI is that it really allows us to have more personalization and to test that personalization at scale to see what are the messages that are really resonating with that particular client. And because we compete with tons of local businesses, we have 9,000 locations that are open across the US during tax season. And so like Walmart has, I think, 4,000 stores, Burger King has 7,000. So it's like we're massive. And we have to compete with local people who are part of the community. So AI really allows us to position the brand as, part of a suburban, outside of New York City versus a rural area in Idaho, and really like infuse us into the community, which has been really exciting. So we can speak locally.
So your moments that matter tied directly to life stages, the big moments that happen. So your micro moments are sort of big moments for people.
Yes. And
that's the brand has to stand for both.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious from a moments that matter perspective, how, or maybe just sort of even generally, how you bridge that gap in the organization as an individual who oversees both the experience work and the brand side. Do you find yourself struggling moving back and forth between customer and brand? Do you have constituents? Tell us a little bit more about that from an organization perspective.
Customer centricity is something that really guides us at H&R Block, which helps. And I think one of the reasons, and I know this is often a contended topic, is where does customer experience sit in an organization? Because we put the customer at the center and because we want the brand to come through and everything that we do, it sits together. And we will, often rally ourselves around a sentiment of we can't advertise our way or communicate our way out of a poor experience that the client has. So we really want that experience to be infused in all of those touch points. And so if it's something specific to tax, we think about it before, during, and after the tax experience, and then those micro moments that that lead up to getting your documents prepared, coming into the store. How do we greet you? Now
What did David Ogilvy say? Nothing kills a bad product faster than good advertising.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's, we think about the importance of the customer, and one of the things
bridging the two arms.
Bridging the two arms, yeah. And so by putting the customer at the center and understanding that journey and then building those experiences around them is a really important part of how we work. Now, to bring this to life, last year we launched a Customer Center of Excellence, which is a partner to the enterprise. And part of what we're doing there is actually creating customer advocates that sit in product squads so that they are there, and AI is also really helping us to learn faster about the customers, to do design sprints faster, to get things in front of customers, to get their reactions. And so, that pivot, and it's not always easy. I mean, I'm sometimes in product reviews where the customer doesn't get mentioned, but we are the voice of the customer. We seek to bring them to every consideration on how we prioritize, how we think about our product roadmap, how we think about the experiences that we build, and creating that customer center of excellence, which is really a consultant at the enterprise level to our technology teams, to our product teams, to even our people and culture teams, to really bring that voice of the customer, has been a powerful tool to kind of bridge the gap across many functions.
And so, Bethany, back to you. Customer centricity is a big dot versus a small dot for you, because when we think about your customer ecosystem, we're thinking about obviously the end properties, right? So a Marvel is going to be a customer, but then we're also thinking about the community itself. How do you?
Yeah, I would flip that a bit. I think that when I think of moments that kind of define fandom, it's really every kind of moment within an IP. So a launch, a new game drops, an update. Those are kind of moments, and there's these fan moments around that. Fans, they are passion forward. right? So they are going into these communities to deep dive and to share. They're highly engaged. When I think about kind of my customers, it's really the brands that I want to bring in to kind of bring them to these engaged customers. So,
so when a brand comes in, how do you negotiate that relationship where you honor the brand and how the brand wants to have a presence while also balancing obviously the property and the entertainer's needs and things like that?
Right. So I think, again, I will always tell a brand it's about authenticity, because fans are too savvy. They see through the bullshit. Sorry, I'm not supposed to say that probably, but they really do. They're there for the IP. They're there for the community. They're there for that moment. So as a brand, how can you lean into that moment? What is it that's additive, as I said before, but what is it going to make that moment better for said consumer? And so being able to offer that guidance, like for us, we use AI. We're powered by Helix, which is our proprietary data platform, and we've created an entire taxonomy, basically looking at where are the kind of thematics? Where are the crossovers? What's the data? What do I know about these fans? And we are happy to share that with brands. We're happy to say, hey, guess what? You want to reach this demo. Here's what we know about them. And here's where they're leaning in, and here's what drives them. And so it's up for the brand. We can tell the brand what we think they should do. It's up to the brand to really kind of take that information. But we're happy to partner with brands and offer that guidance. Is like, we really know what drives these fans. And so if you're going to lean in and you want to get like the most kind of bang for your buck, I would stick to these themes. I would stick to these genres. I would kind of tailor your messaging this way and maybe not that way.
Yeah, when we were chatting backstage, you were talking about the theme-based way the AI works, and that there's crossover between two potentially very different properties, but have a commonality in terms of a theme that can help a brand connect with a specific audience.
Right. It's also and also, forget the theme. Like I just find it really interesting, and I think any marketer would, that, for example, Smile, like the horror franchise, over-indexes with fans who also like Seinfeld. I mean, I never, without this kind of taxonomy, I wouldn't be able to know that information. So we have all these details about these fans that we're willing to share.
And I bet those people also hate doing their taxes.
Well, that's the thing. It's so funny. I mean, people think of us as like gaming and, that's it. But guess what? Gamers have allergies. Gamers do taxes. Gamers need auto insurance, and so all these things, and everyone is a fan. I could ask, if I was to do a poll, like, what are you a fan of? Whether it's a game, a franchise, a film, streaming, everyone is invested in some kind of gaming or entertainment kind of IP. Yeah. So we're all fans on some level. And some of us, we cater the fan spectrum. There's the passive fan and there's the super active fan. They all kind of stop by.
What's the name of the AI? What did you call
Helix.
it? Helix.
Yep.
So you're spilling all the goods. Jill, you have any cool AI stories to tell us?
Well, I was going to say, fun fact, H&R Block did an integration into Minecraft with the character Sir Block, and we also did a partnership with Roblox to that point of understanding the passions of our fans and creating really interesting content. So I've got one really, we're doing tons with AI. We're doing a lot to drive creative at scale, to do more personalization, all of that. We really think about what is the role of AI in giving us better business outcomes. And so personalization matters because it gives us better response and it gives us better retention. And so we're working hard on things like, we've just done a big Writer implementation, and we've integrated Writer into Workfront and into Figma so that it can all work together. But one thing that I'm really proud of that we did at H&R Block was we, through the lens of those 4 E's that I mentioned earlier, created an AI layer in our digital product experience for people who do their taxes themselves. We built an AI tax assistant, which was something that we launched at scale 3 years ago, which was a solution that sits between a chat bot and having to call out to a live agent. People do their taxes at all times of the day. I'm always fascinated to see what time people start and finish their taxes. People get home from working the night shift and decide to do their taxes. They'll get up at 3 in the morning and start their taxes. And we don't have 24/7 live help. And when we lose someone in the experience, like when there's a point from which they start and they can't get to their outcome, we have a really hard time getting them to finish their experience with us. So we partnered with Microsoft in the early days of large language models, and we created an AI tax assistant, which was able to answer 80 to 90% of the most commonly asked questions. And it was really a game changer for our customers, because even if someone is available on the phone, you don't necessarily want to take the time to call them, and you could, enter it into the AI tax assistant, get a high confidence response and move through your taxes to get to completion. So it's affected our growth, it's affected our retention, and it's something that really is a great use case of AI delivered at scale to serve the clients that we work with.
And is the concept of community a thing for you as well? Do you maintain a group of customers, for example, and are you talking to them frequently?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We have a customer panel that we use for all sorts of things. I mean, like to really gauge if and tons of UX research that was done on how they wanted to engage with a product like our AI Tax Assist. And now we're working on taking what went into that to create what we're calling a sidekick to our tax pros, so that they can actually use that same corpus of knowledge to ask questions for themselves as they're working face-to-face with a client. So people choose to work with us either online only, virtually, or face-to-face and meeting with a human. And so yes, there's a lot of thinking about all of the stakeholders and the importance of understanding how our experts, our tax experts, work with our clients, and how our consumers or small businesses experience both the humans that they work with and the products and experiences we build.
So we're not going to do Q&A today with the audience, but I kind of wrote a question for the audience, and I think
we hope you like it.
We'll start with you.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, we have, at Adweek, we've got agency folks and other marketing leaders and experience leaders that have joined us. If there's an individual like that in the audience who leads marketing and/or CX, and they're thinking about how they could achieve tighter alignment between brand and experience in their organization, what would be your, top things that you would say start tomorrow morning? What are the quick wins?
Learning about what drives who you're trying to reach. What are they passionate about, and authentically connect with them in that way. Surround yourself with the moments. I mean, I'm lucky. I work at Fandom. We sit in the center of pop culture, because I see in real time. I knew K-pop Demon Hunter was going to be a hit long before any of you knew about it, because the traffic was just going bananas. I remember telling my kids, I'm like, what's this K-pop Demon Hunter thing? And they're like, I don't know. And 2 weeks later, they're like, Mom, everyone's talking about that thing you said. I'm like, I know. So I was like, I get it. So we sit at the center. So, be aware of the moments that are going to resonate, and work with someone who's going to help you kind of map that. But also, work with a partner who can, be adaptive. So for us, we heard that from our customers, and so we created a trending program. So not only can you work with us and, map out those big IP moments and those big kind of fan moments throughout the year, but also you can work with us so that your message is exactly when something's trending. So before K-pop Demon Hunter becomes massive and it starts building, we can put your message there. So it's really working with a partner who understands who you're trying to reach and can help you kind of bridge that gap authentically.
Yeah, it's super cool. Fandom really can play a couple different roles with its partners, and one is just understanding your audience better.
Understanding, you don't have to use our insights, but we're happy to share with you kind of what makes your demo tick.
Yeah.
And then, surrounding them with the right message at the right time, meaning those big moments I talked about, but also as these communities, as these IPs start swelling, the ones that we don't expect. When Severance, pops up in Grand Central and does that huge activation, we saw that at Fandom. If you were a brand, you may not have, no one would have thought that and Severance was gonna pop. But guess what? That's why we have trending now. So it's a line item that, based on your target, if something starts trending, we can put your message there. So that would be kind of my guidance. Are you okay, Jill?
Jill, we're going to come over to you.
We don't want to lose Jill in the process.
Maybe the talking will help. I'm fighting a bad head cold.
Oh.
Anyway, let's give it a go.
So, members of the audience, thinking
Yeah.
about how they could establish a little bit more success in bridging that brand and marketing gap.
Yeah,
Couple
I think
tips
it
or
goes.
tricks.
Yeah, I think it goes back to, like, you know, the example that I gave. We do taxes, but that's not really what customers are buying from us. And so I think really understanding both like what you do and why you do it to help establish what your brand stands for. And doing that consistently, and it's not easy, but I think, you know, this effort of really aligning at the enterprise level around those 4 E's and how we calibrate them across kind of the end-to-end experience thinking and what they mean in the micro moment.
Yep, the commitments. Well, thank
Excuse
you
me.
so much. Thank you guys for being with us.